I want to share with you what happens when I have shifted my focus. You can still give sounds and talk to me without having to identify who you are. For the purpose of
Sure.
anyone that's watching this, just want to protect the privacy of the person who's watching. And to those of you that are seeing this is Dr. Gary Woolman, and I was just sharing, the person just asked me, who I'm meeting for the first time on this Zoom session, what's it been like to be able to have a whole lifetime of being a hands-on practitioner and then shifting to the online space? That was your question, right?
Yes.
In what I began to share with you is that there was a man who heard about my work with a particular woman that was a friend of hers. And he said, God, you're getting such great shifts with this friend of mine. I want to learn how to do your work. So he hired, because he lived in LA and I lived in Melbourne, Australia, a body therapist to drive in from Las Vegas. And I showed him stroke by stroke, word by word, sound by sound, breath by breath, stretch by stretch, exactly how to do my sessions. And he had the same kind of shaking and physical release. It was really powerful. Yet the interesting part, and the reason I wanted to put this on the video here, is what happened next. And this kind of launched me more into this did launch me more, not kind of, this launched me more into the online space to see how powerful it is. Because I never trusted it before. I thought hands-on is the only way to go, be in the same room. I wouldn't even want to be online. And then he told me that he had cerebral palsy. Oh my God, you have cerebral palsy. And his body was all like this, it was all twisted up and it's shaking, and it's getting a lot of great tremors and release from the work. And then he said, forget about having someone work on my body, just work with me directly online. And we started to do that. And so in the first session of working with him online, something really remarkable happened. He had had an experience, since he has had cerebral palsy for most of his life, of seeing himself as a gimp, of seeing himself as something wrong with me, and I'm not okay. He kept holding that point of view, that self-talk about himself. But by the end of the session, we reached a point where I asked him if he could please change the words and renegotiate his contract or his naming or blaming or put himself down for this cerebral palsy. I said, if you were to give cerebral palsy a new name, what would you call it? And he came up with creative perception, CP. Creative perception instead of cerebral palsy. Suddenly, instead of it being something wrong with me as himself, he saw that he could see things in a creative way, because he calls himself as a rainbow healer, that no one else can see, because he has these renewed abilities and these abilities to actually make a difference because of his unique position. So ever since, I've been finding other ways with more, I won't call it normal, but people who are not so extremely different, to also navigate through the space by renaming conditions, by renegotiating their contracts with people in their lives. In particular, I have some exercises I've developed that are about taking, like, you can think of a situation, I'm sure, for yourself or some of your clients, where they have frozen and they've never come out of it. A moment where someone put them down or punished them, and they've been punishing themselves ever since for what happened, right? It happens to every one of us anyway, in some different form. So what I do is I ask a person to go back to that moment online and remember, ever since that moment, I've never spoke up again. I've never had a relationship or whatever it might be. And I ask them to do this exact exercise, which I find really powerful. I now address you, person, or the situation, or the people that oppressed me back then. When you did that back then, I've never been the same. This is how it's affected my thinking, my speaking, my actions, my relating, my relationships, my dreams. And I'm tired of it. I take this pain, I have them go like this, as though they're holding a chalice. And I wad that pain, that false persona that I developed to be able to deal with your oppression, your admonishment, your putting me down, that false persona of who I thought I'd better be so that I could deal with you throughout my whole growing up. And I take this pain that I've been carrying all my life, and I have people do this exact exercise, and I send it back to the source. I send it back to where it came. And there's a shift because they're saying, they're emoting, the tears are often coming out at that point because they're feeling, they're connecting with what they've been truly holding in. I don't have to touch them to do this, but I am touching their soul, their psyche, their emotions, their loathing, their blame, their shame. And then it shifted over. My new self-talk is, and whatever it is, I called it, I'm clear, concise, and caring, or I'm a loving, nurturing, inspiring being. And then I say, that's good. Now, the homework for you between now and our next online session is to notice in your thinking, in your speaking, in your actions, what shows up. That's evidence of you being more nurturing, more inspiring, more empowering. Write it down in our next session. Let's talk about that. Let's make a vision board or treasure map about it so we can begin to have that new self-talk, new mission statement become your new default program. So people then return to that instead of the old litany, and it's really powerful. So this is some of the ways that I'm learning, ways of using this online space, the four corners, to move through time this way. Past, present, future, from your point of view, have people use their hands, use their gestures, use their face to be able to make shifts that are visible, visceral from them, their point of view, audible from my point of view, my hero view. And then we take them on a journey through shifts in the way that they speak, the way that they write, the way they make speeches, and that's become a real powerful space. So I'm going to turn the recording off in just a moment now, and we'll come back just to connect with you live. Yet I thought this was really important to share this with whoever would hear, because that's been an important shift for me, to go from a hands-on practitioner, where I thought that was all that was real, to an online practitioner using my hands-on-ness and my visceral, visual, audible, kinesthetic understanding to make massive impacts with people I would never meet before online. It's been a really powerful transformation. So now I'm going to turn the recording off, and let's come back just to talk, you and I. Thank you, audience, for whoever's watching, for your patience with me, and also for you who I'm meeting for the first time in the dark. So now we can meet face to face, and I'll turn off the recording. We can continue our first meeting together. You who also have, I understand, a wonderful connection with working with people with the body in your hands. So I'm going to turn off the recording now.